Hello all and welcome back to another wonderful video. Today I am here in the Ponytown Patreon to talk about all things Ponytown Patreon. I get questions all the time in my comments or questions overall that I just happen to stumble upon on things of like, how do I connect my Ponytown Patreon account thing? Like how can I get my perks and rewards and stuff like that? I'm a Patreon supporter, I should get them. Well, you have to do a couple of steps to actually get those rewards. But I also get questions all the time about like what happens when you lose supporter. Hey Danny, what happens if I lose supporter? Do I lose all those characters I made? I stumble upon this question all the time, either in my own comments or on the subreddit or on the Amino or even on various Discord servers. So today I thought I would answer every single one of these questions all within a single video so that whenever you have a question like this, you can jump onto this video and skip to one of these timestamps that I will show up on screen and of course have your question answered immediately. So let's get started, and yes, these are all 100% guaranteed facts about what happens when you lose Ponytown Patreon rewards and things like that. However, anything is subject to change. At any point, Ponytown can decide, hey, we're going to change how this works and stuff like that. It could change for the worse, it could change for the better, but currently, as of right now, as of recording on May 4th, 2021, this is how it works. So starting off, you're gonna think about what reward, like what perks and stuff like that you want to buy into, what tier you want to buy into. It doesn't matter which one you buy into though. Whichever one you buy into, you will find this little message here. It is pinned at the top of all the posts that Ponytown has put on their Patreon thing. You might not necessarily find this, but this is how you connect your Ponytown Patreon rewards to your Ponytown account. So all you need to do this is to go to your account settings. I will show you how to do that right now. Let's say you're on the game. You're going to have to load up Ponytown, by the way. You're going to have to hit this thing up here in the top right, which has your account name on it. So your name will be different over there. It won't have a star next to it yet, but it will after all of these steps have been completed. Press that and then hit account settings and it will bring you to your account settings page. You won't see this supporter character over here or anything like that. This is just there for after you get your tier and everything like that, and it tells you what your rewards are and stuff like that. Once you get here, all you have to do is scroll down to the connected social accounts area and of course press the connect another social site to this account. Once you press that, you can attach any sort of social account you want to. You can attach your Google, you can attach your Twitter, you can attach your Facebook. You're going to want to click on the Patreon one. You're going to click on the Patreon one. It's going to most likely prompt you to sign in and do all this stuff like that. So just sign in, and once all those steps are completed, you will be able to come back to your Ponytown account settings and you will see that your Ponytown Patreon account is indeed linked to your thing. Now, I do want to clarify that you desperately do not want to connect any social sites that do not belong to you. Do not connect a Twitter account that you don't have access to, that you don't own. If you don't own that Twitter account, do not connect it to your social accounts in your account, because this can cause all kinds of issues, such as losing your account, losing parts of your account, like losing some of your characters and things like that. It just causes all kinds of issues, and of course, you don't want those things to happen. So just make sure that you connect a social site that belongs to you, that belongs 100% to you, and stuff like that. So just connect your Patreon, just click that, sign in, everything like that. Once you do all of that stuff like that, you will then be greeted by this little pony right here, this little cute little character here, and it will have supporter info and things like that, and it will basically tell you that you've successfully connected your Ponytown Patreon account and things like that, and then it will essentially tell you to wait no longer than 10 minutes to register your pledges. So once that happens, you're just gonna have to wait a few minutes, wait a little while, maybe wait up to 10 minutes, maybe wait up to 20 minutes if you're really not wanting to bother anyone like me. Just wait a little bit, and eventually, as you refresh the game, eventually you will see this message that says thank you for your support, and it will tell you what your reward tier is and things like that, and it will obviously show you your in-game rewards and things like that. You will also get a star next to your account name, and you will be able to use the /SS command to use the special text. If there is any kinds of issues, if something happens and you are unable to properly connect your Patreon account, let's say you've waited 20 minutes, let's say you waited a half an hour, let's say you waited an hour and it's still not linking properly for whatever reason, be sure to refresh, by the way, like be sure to continuously refresh, because that may be why it's not working, but keep refreshing, and if it's not working for whatever reason, or if there's any issues at any point in the process, just go to the about page here, go to for everything else, send us an email at ponytownhelp@gmail.com, and you can email them saying like, hey, the Ponytown Patreon thing isn't actually working for some reason, like something's going on, it's not linking properly, etc., and they will, work with you to try to fix that issue and get you your rewards. So that is essentially how you can link your account. Next, I'm going to be answering questions about what happens if you, let's say, take tier 2 or whatever and have to, for whatever reason, no longer pay for that monthly fee. If we take a look at the rewards, you have, of course, supporter tier 1 tier that has all these little things here. You get extra, slots for party members. You get extra slots for house objects, extra slots for your island objects, etc., etc., etc. Even 200 extra ponies for your thing. And then, of course, you have supporter 2, which gives you even more friends, more AFK timeout, extra slots for your island walls, extra objects for your island, extra, slots for your friends, extra party members that you can have in your party, all this other stuff like that. You even get extra slots for saving maps, which is all a wonderful thing. And of course, it goes even more when you get tier 3. But what happens when you lose let's say tier 2? What happens? Well, I actually have a funny little diagram that I put together today. It is very simple to follow. We start over here in this far left corner. Let's say you're a non-supporter. This is what you have. You have 200 characters, like 200 ponies that you can make. You have 3 map slots that you can make and save and do whatever you want with, and your friend limit is 100. For whatever reason, you just have that limit of how many friends you can have. I mean, there's obviously very good reasons for that, but there's a limit on how many friends you can actually add to the game. So that's your friend limit and everything like that. Now let's say you're thinking about it and you're like, should I get tier 2? Should I get tier 3? Should I get tier 1? Should I get any of them at all? And then something clicks in your head and you're like, yes, let's get tier 2. And so you get tier 2. This is what you now currently have as a tier 2 supporter. You now currently have a total of 400 ponies that you can make. You can now make a total of 6 map slots and stuff like that for your map making and everything like that. And your friend limit has now increased to 150. So what happens now? Let's say you're playing around or whatever like that, and you make, let's say, 400 characters. You fill up every single one of those ponies, you fill up every single one of those map slots, and you add 150 friends. So you now have 400 characters on your account. You now have 6 slots, 6 maps saved to your account, and you now have 150 friends added to your account. What happens now when you lose supporter for whatever reason? Maybe you just couldn't pay that month, maybe you're skipping for a little while, maybe you're trying to save some money, maybe you just figured it wasn't worth it anymore. Whatever, it doesn't matter what the reason is, but the reason that you've lost it is completely to your own discretion. But let's say that you have lost your supporter status. Your pony limit is now 300, your map slots are now set back to 3, so you can only have 3 maps, and your friend limit, of course, goes back down to 100. Yes, that's right. Even if you lose supporter, your new limit for how many characters you can have becomes 300 forever. Your new limit for how many ponies that you can make in the game has now increased by 100 forever. You can now make 100 extra characters forever. No matter if you become a supporter again, no matter if you never become a supporter again, you will always have a new pony limit of 300. But that's not all. Earlier, we had 400 characters. We made 400 characters. Well, you can actually still access every single one of those characters that you've made. You can even save them and edit them and do whatever you want like that with them, which is kind of maybe one of the things that might change eventually. I'm not 100% sure if that will ever change, but it's kind of technically a little bit inconsistent, so it might change, it might not change, who knows. But technically, you can access all 400 characters that you made previously, because you still have them. They're still on your account. You can still click on them, do whatever you want like that. The map slots, let's say you made 6 full maps when you were a tier 2 supporter. You actually still have access to all 6 of those maps. However, you cannot edit those maps and you cannot save those maps that are past your slot 3. So you have 3 slots, that is your new limit. You know, your 4th slot, your 5th slot, and your 6th slot, you cannot edit those maps or save those maps. All you can do is load them and save them to one of your first 3 slots. So if you have, a slot that's in a map that's in slot 6 or whatever, and you want to move it to slot 1, you can do that, but you can't really mess or save or interact with those other 3 maps in pretty much any other way. You can load them, of course, and play on them, so you still have access to them, but it's a weird little thing there. Your friend limit has become 100, but earlier when you were tier 2, you made 150 friends and added all 150 of them to your account. However, now that you're not a Ponytown supporter, you don't actually lose those friends. You actually keep those friends forever. But, and this is a big but, if you lose any of those friends and you go to 149 friends, you will not be able to add 150th friend. You won't be able to replace that friend. You won't be able to add them again. You will not be able to do anything with your friend limit until it goes back down below that friend limit that you now currently have. So you have 150 friends. If you lose 50 friends, you still can't add another friend until you go to, 99 or less. Then you can start adding friends and things like that. But you can still remove them, you can still whisper them, you can still see them on your friends list and all of that. The same thing sort of applies over to some of these other things. Your pony limit is 300, so if you delete a character, you can't get that character back, you can't make a new character until your limit goes below 300. Same thing with the maps. Your map slots are now limited to 3, so you can't make a new map or do anything like that without overriding one of those first 3 maps. So that is what happens when you lose any of these supporter, things like that. Whenever you lose tier 2 supporter, whenever you lose tier 1 supporter, whenever you lose tier 3 supporter, it doesn't matter what tier that you have, you will always 100% get that 100 extra characters. So you can essentially pay $1 for one single month and then never pay again, and you will have an extra free 100 ponies. I mean, not necessarily free because you paid $1, but you would get 100 extra ponies. That was actually the nail in the coffin for me to make me become a tier 1 supporter for a while and things like that. So that's kind of what ultimately made me want to become a supporter, is because I knew that I would get that extra 100 characters, and I have used them. I have used those extra things and stuff. So that is what happens if you lose your Patreon rewards and things like that. I hope I was able to make this very clear. And one more thing that I kind of want to talk about before I kind of close off here is I want to talk about the weird exploitish kind of thing. I'm not really sure how intentional this is. I did bring it up to the devs. It was just a big question mark. This right here is sort of an exploit. I kind of feel like it is. I feel like you could consider it an exploit, but one thing that some of you may not know is based on what tier of supporter you are, you have this object limit count. Your object limit count by default is 600, I believe. Your object limit starts at 600, and the more tiers you go up, the more your object limit increases. There is a weird thing where if you know someone who is a, Patreon supporter, you can technically surpass this limit. You can go into a party with a Patreon supporter like me, like you go into a party with me or whatever like that, and you go and you edit the map with them. You have to make the Patreon member the leader, so make me the leader in this example, and then together we work on a map. We work on a nice little map like this. This is my game island. It has a bunch of mini games and things like that on it, by the way. If you want to know about any of them, you can check my channel. I've explained a lot of these in different videos and stuff. Once you make this map and everything like that, because the Patreon member is the current party leader, they have the limit of 1600 objects. So I have the limit of 1600 objects, and no matter how much you place, whatever you do, as long as neither of us surpass that limit, we can make it as big as we want. Right now, the limit of this object on this map is 647 objects, which means I'm 47 objects over the limit. If you're a person that isn't a Patreon member and you come to my island and I give you permission to save this map, you can save this map even though it surpasses the limit that you're supposed to have. If you want a map that has like 1,000 objects in it and you don't have supporter, but you know someone that has supporter, build a map with them. Talk to them and be like, hey, I want to build a map. You have a bigger object limit, so you're going to be leader, and then you're just going to let me save it. And then you can kind of get around it. It's a weird thing, and that's one of the things that will definitely most likely change eventually. But that kind of does it for the video. There's not really anything else to talk about when it comes to the Patreon thing. If you want to be a Patreon supporter, more power to you. All you have to do is go to Ponytown, and there will be a big thing right here at the top telling you to support us on Patreon, and you can click it and it'll bring you straight over here, and you can choose a thing and everything. So I do hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please do consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and doing all those wonderful things like that, because when you do wonderful things like that, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become wonderful yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.